Kendra, I'd love to get started. Last Wednesday, we saw members of Better Budget Alliance in Boston. They rallied at City Hall. We saw the delivering of hundreds of postcards to the mayor. What was it like to be part of that rally, and what have been some of the results?
Yes, so over the last month, our coalition, the Better Budget Alliance, has been in the community having conversations and informing residents of the current process for participatory budgeting. We're asking for the mayor to give $40 million for true investments and, leveraging our community's experiences and identifying issues and solutions in participatory budgeting processes. So last Wednesday, we convened with over 500 pledge cards, as well as emails to the mayor to share our story as to why it's important to have true invested of $40 million, which is only 1% of the over operating budget to be allocated to participatory budgeting. Our groups are intergenerational, multiracial, and we all showed up to make sure that our voices were heard.
Excellent. And you said you're asking for the 40 million, the 1%. What is the current allotment now?
Yes, so right now, last year, the mayor allocated $2 million, bringing the overall allocation to $4 million for the process. So that includes funding the Office of Participatory Budgeting, as well as collecting the ideas for implementation. And so that's the current budget. We're asking the mayor to give a little bit more, $40 million. You might not say that's not a little bit more, but why we're making that specific ask, because in comparison to other cities hosting this process. In Seattle, $30 million for participatory budgeting, $10 million in Nashville. And we saw in Paris, they have 5% overall of their operating budget for participatory budgeting. And so we really believe that Boston can hold this standard and really push the envelope in investing more into this process. And so we at least want to be comparable to the other cities that we're seeing this displayed.
And can you walk us through the history of Better Budget Alliance, and how does participatory budgeting work?
Yes, so participatory budgeting is the act of residents having direct say and decision-making power over a piece of the public budget. Right, so in this case, it's the city's budget. The foundations of participatory budgeting is actually in Brazil in 1989, and so we want to make sure that we're building over that in the next couple of years. And so why participatory budgeting matters, it's really important for residents to have an understanding of how budgets work. Over 70% of all of the operating budget for the city is from our property taxes. So it is our money. And so we believe that we should be able to have the direct decision-making power over that. The Better Budget Alliance is actually the implementation vehicle for all of our coalition and grassroots partners who worked on the Yes on One campaign in 2021, which was a ballot initiative. It was the people's ballot initiative. Folks showed up to the polls and they decided overwhelmingly, nearly 70%, that this is something that we wanted. And so our role as grassroots organizations in the BBA is to make sure that that dream, that true intention of what PB is implemented with the voters' intentions.
Amazing. And I remember Senator Lydia Senator Lydia Edwards being a fundamental part of making sure that it got to the ballot. Can you talk a little bit about how participatory budgeting can be used as a tool to advance racial and economic justice?
Right. We are using participatory budgeting, and why this is so important to our residents is to make sure that we're reducing and removing the harms of long-term disinvestment in certain communities and representing underrepresented folks, making sure that they have a seat at the table and decision-making power. And so it's really important that we're centering this process in inequity. We've been working directly with the Office of Participatory Budgeting. We've been working with Renato there and making sure that our process has equity criteria and deliverables so we can make sure that we're achieving that racial and economic justice. So it's truly about making sure that folks that are the experts in their communities that are living their daily lives also have a direct say in how we're shaping what their communities are looking like.
And who are some of the groups involved with Better Budget Alliance?
Yeah, so we have quite a few organizations within the Better Budget Alliance. Actually, in my role as field director and on the steering committee of the Better Budget Alliance is with the Massachusetts Voter Table. And we have, groups that have been working on this since the ballot initiative in 2021. And so it's really important that they're in the process of implementation. From the Center of Economic Democracy, I already mentioned the Massachusetts Voter Table, Family Justice as Healing, New England United for Justice. We have many groups that are within this coalition that are working hard and striving to see the economic and racial justice that can come from a participatory budget process.